Welcome back, horticultural friends. Got another video today for you on plants for mid-summer that are great for pollinators. Now, pollinators have become a bit of a buzzword recently, excuse the pun, and everybody wants to put stuff in their garden, which is great for pollinators. And this is because in the last 20 years, they've massively declined, and some of them are on the brink of extinction. And I don't think it's just in the UK, it's all over Europe, probably all over the world, because of some of the modern chemicals we're using in our gardens and on our crops. Also, the reduction of hedgerows and wildflower meadows, etc. So let's take a look at some plants that you can put in your garden to get more pollinators and things like hoverflies, bees, butterflies, bumblebees, moths. Just behind me here is a stunning hydrangea called Hydrangea aspera Villosa. I'll just turn the camera around so you can have a closer look. It's got these wonderful sort of lace cap flowers. There we go. We've got a little honeybee on there now, which are almost like a neon purple. Now, they actually prefer to be shade, and this one's in full sun. So it's looking a little bit yellow around the gills. But yeah, the colour, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, it really, really does glow. Now, hydrangeas aren't usually very good at all for pollinators, and that's because, especially the mop head ones, like Annabelle. So this is a mop head hydrangea, and this one is, well, one of the types of mop head hydrangea. This is Hydrangea arborescens, but then you've got the Hydrangea maculata types that can come in blue, pink, purple, and this style sort of flower head on a hydrangea is generally very bad for pollinators. These are what you call sterile florets. They provide no pollen or nectar. They're purely ornamental, completely man-made, and unfortunately no good for our buzzy bee friends. Whereas with any of the lace caps hydrangeas, they've got, this is how you would find it in the wild, they've got a few of these sterile florets, and they help attract and guide the insects into the true flowers in the center there, which will actually provide nectar, pollen, and seeds. So if you really are mad about your pollinators, make sure you choose a lace cap hydrangea. Now, we're quite cool. It's in the end of the evening, so there's not as many bees, but during the day, it's literally buzzing. Next plant I want to talk about is Persicaria amplexicaulis Firetail. Again, it is quite cool in the evening, but this plant is really favoured by the hoverflies, and you do get bees on them as well. When it's warmer in the day, they are covered in hoverflies. I don't want to spend too long on this one because it is going to feature in another video shortly on a separate subject. But it's great because it flowers from July in the UK all the way through till the first bad frosts in maybe October or November. So it's a really good plant. Brilliant for the back. I've got it at the front of the border here, but it's really good for the back of a border because it will get a couple of feet. It does like damp soils, but it's pretty versatile. It will grow in dry soils as well. I've seen it in prairie style plantings and all sorts. So, but it prefers heavier soils. But again, even if you've got sandy soils, I'll give it a go because it's such a tough plant. So this plant here, which I did do the video clip for originally, but I seem to have lost, is an allium called Millennium. You'll see some better footage of it shortly. But it's a fantastic new allium that's been around the last few years. I've noticed it more and more in clients' gardens, and it flowers much later than all the other alliums. It acts more like a herbaceous perennial than a than the bulbous types. Very similar to Tulbagia violacea in the way it grows. Conditions are sunny, free draining. It grows all right on my heavy clay, but why I'm on a hill. So, easy to look after too. Now, our American viewers will be very familiar with this one. It's called Asclepias tuberosa, or the butterfly weed, and it's not grown very much at all in the UK. And it's got these beautiful orange flowers. It's actually the food plant, both nectar and for the caterpillars, of the amazing monarch butterfly, which migrates from Canada to Mexico and back again through several generations, which is astonishing. But this plant is excellent, as its name suggests, the butterfly weed for butterflies in the UK too. We don't get monarch butterflies, but our butterflies definitely enjoy the flowers. It doesn't really get eaten by much with its milky sap, because there's nothing really adapted to eat the sap, to eat the leaves. So it makes a great plant. Now, its only requirements really are it must have very free draining soil. Now, I'm on heavy clay, but I'm on a hill, so I can get away with it. But if you can grow things like echinaceas, sea hollies, then you're in with a shout. Otherwise, very easy plant, long lived, will slowly form a decent clump, a couple of foot tall. So this is my next favourite plant for pollinators. This is particularly loved by hoverflies and butterflies that I see on this. Now, there's nothing on these plants this morning because it's very early in the morning. It's not quite warmed up enough yet. Pollinators. There's a couple of bees buzzing around me on these heleniums, but next door. But yeah, it's a bit too cool yet, so I will come out with some B-roll when the insects get moving a bit. They're still in bed. But this will actually get really dark purple leaves. Now, it's not in the best spot here. It's kind of a bit shaded out by the tetrapanax and these heleniums and the crocosmias. So I'm going to move that. But it self-seeds freely. It's a very easy plant. It's got this beautiful dark purpley foliage with those pale mauve flowers on. So when it's in the right spot, it really does look striking. And it flowers from July all the way through to, well, actually it flowers from June, I would say, end of June, beginning of July, all the way through to September time. Much hardier than the classic Verbena bonariensis, which is also good, very good for pollinators. But it's much hardier. You can lose this one. This one's from Brazil. You can lose it in very cold winters, but it often comes back from seedlings. Whereas these don't act like annuals. They act more like proper perennials. And they don't need staking. They don't fall over. They get to about knee height. As a general rule, any of your daisies or daisy type plants in the Asteraceae family are going to be really good for insects. And that's because although it looks like one flower, that's actually hundreds of flowers. So there are some flowers on the outside, which they're called sterile ray florets, and their only job is to produce a petal. And inside, you can see, probably better on this one, that the flowers open up in concentric whorls, and each one is full of nectar, and each one will produce a seed. So you'll get a big full head of seed for the birds in the autumn, and you've got hundreds of chances there for insects to collect pollen and nectar. So essentially with these Asteraceae, the bar's always open. So that brings us to the end of the video on 5 hardy plants that flower in midsummer that are great for pollinators add any of those to your garden and you'll attract more insects to your garden, more pollinators, whether they be bees, moths, butterflies. They're all incredibly useful for the garden and the environment. Some of them, like your hoverflies, will prey on beasts and nasties in the garden, which eat our plants when they're in the larval stage, as well as pollinate them. So I hope you found that useful. If you have, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Ciao, ciao.